India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
Here we go, turn it up, let it start. From block to block, we snatching hearts and jacking marks. And the punk police can't fade me a minute. We can have peace someday. But right now I got my mind set up. Looking down the bottle of a nine, get up. Give us time to let the baby back back. To my brothers on the block, better stay strapped. And accept no substitutes. I bring truth to the youth, tell the youth from my old school. Oh, you know I won't turn the other cheek. Case you can't see us when we party every week. Now we got them in the smash, blast. How long will it last? Till the road get more cash. Until then, raise up. Till like young black men blaze up. Like semester stress test. I'm giving but be thankful that you're living blessed. Much love to my brothers in the pen. See you when I free you, if not when they shove me in. Once again, it's an all-out strap. Keep your hands in the gap. Now your boys watch your back. In the alleys, I'm down in my town. Got the best with the best and the best with the help. Scream if you feel it. See it clearly. You're too near me. Holler if you hear me. Holler if you hear me. Holler if you hear me.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta. Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
What's going on, everybody? What is happening? What is happening? I'm your boy Big Q. This is TeamBoydTV Turbo's The Shield special presentation, man. Calling this one Shield Integrity Check, Adrian Peterson. You know what I mean? Listen, we all were excited for the football season to start. I mean, everybody was excited. We were really getting pumped, ready to go into this football season. And I think we got a little bit more than what we were really wanting, because the season opened not only with some really good football action on the field, but man, there was a lot of drama going on too. Everything from the whole Ray Rice inside the elevator tape resurfacing, and whether or not the NFL and Roger Goodell saw the tape prior, and this and that. And that's another podcast for a different day. And, you know, hopefully I can get a guest or somebody on the show for that one. And then, you know, toward the end of the week, we got this whole Adrian Peterson stuff. And, oh my God, man, it's like open season on NFL running backs right now, or just the NFL in general. You know, and I don't know if this is the NFL is just not handling all their business correctly, and this is the reason why all this stuff is happening, or it's just people just feel like they can get away with anything. But today, though, I want to focus on this Adrian Peterson story, because this is another one that kind of, you know, I've been thinking a lot about it, you know, and I kind of didn't want to do this because of the nature of the story and whatnot. So, you know, but before we get into it, you know, I got a few people that's watching live. If you guys are watching me live, it's cool. We do have a live Twitter. You guys want to tweet the show, you can use the hashtag NFL Shield, or if you want to, you can use the hashtag TeamBoydTV Live. Share your thoughts, and we'll show your tweets live on the stream, and that kind of thing. So listen, for those unfamiliar with what's been going on, I think I want to say it was either Friday or Saturday, report came out that Adrian Peterson, a report and some pictures came out about Adrian Peterson going and whipping his four-year-old son with a switch. And the pictures, you know, we saw the pictures. I was gonna put the pictures up, but I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. You know, so it was an outrage about it. Like, a lot of people had a lot of things to say, you know, and I've been hearing everything. I've been hearing things like some things that I can relate to, and some other things that I don't quite understand. We're gonna discuss it all, though. We'll talk about all that stuff. For the people watching, does my mic sound okay? Is it good? That's good. Okay, as long as the audio is good, because we have audio issues every once in a while. Before we get started, though, I do want to play a clip from NFL Sunday Countdown. This past week, it was Chris Carter, Tom Jackson, Keyshawn Johnson, and Coach Mike Ditka. Am I forgetting anybody? Oh, and Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis is on there too. We'll get their thoughts, and then I'll kind of respond to kind of what they said and that kind of thing. So let's do that first, and then we'll get into this other thing. Let's check this out.
There's a lot. Well, Key, what are you thinking? Pictures, news, and what Sal just reported along with Adam. What are you thinking?
You know, I look at this. This is a different era and time frame from when I was growing up. Having a grandmother, a mother, and an aunt use some sort of form of this type of discipline to me as a child, being a kid at whatever age it was, 7 years old, 6 years old, I didn't have any knowledge to know that it was wrong to abuse a kid with the switch, to the point at times where my parents would even ask me to go out and pick a branch off the tree of your choice, big, small, whatever the case may be, to use it. But if that didn't happen to me along the way, I wouldn't be here with you today. It taught me a lot of learning lessons. Even further to say, I never ever got put in a position where I was hit 15 plus times and I bled. Never. But I also understand that they did it so that I can become a better kid along the way. And it obviously worked. In this situation, as I said before, you could discipline your kid a different way. Okay? Adrian Peterson said that he was disciplined this way. Well, so was I. And I have 4 kids. I have an 18 down to 2. And I have a little 4-year-old girl and a 2-year-old son. And I never, ever have put my hands on them. When I want to get their attention, you know what I do? I raise my voice. And I give them that stern look. And it gets their attention. When they go to touch the stove, I can raise my voice. When they go to push each other down, I can raise my voice. I don't need to put my hands on them. So I think that Adrian Peterson and everybody else out there in the world better learn from this lesson.
He committed abuse against this child. If you talk to most African-American men, and I know that much of America is hearing about it for the first time, I was whipped. A switch by my mom, a belt by my dad. What was done to me and what was done to that 4-year-old are different things. That is abuse of a child. The shame of it all is that Adrian Peterson doesn't know that he did anything wrong to this child. Now, he's going to know because he's going to be prosecuted. So he's going to understand it eventually. I think the important thing here, besides the case being dealt with, is going forward, and I can't explain why. I learned something along the way so that Taylor and Morgan get treated completely differently. I would never think about hitting them. I stopped that cycle of violence with me. And there's something here that's bigger than even this issue, the NFL entirely. We started the week, players beating up women. We ended the week with players beating up children. We are in a very serious state here in the National Football League.
And truly we are. And when you think about, I'm definitely with Keyshawn, my mother gave me some hard lessons. Hard lessons. There were many times at night I went to bed with bruises on me. You understand? But my mother also let me understood that you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So we have to be very careful with what is abuse. Abuse, anytime you make a child bleed, that's abuse. Anytime you physically harm a child to where people can see them going to school, that's abuse. But when you are raised the way I was raised, I'm telling you, if my mother wasn't as hard as she was, the streets would have got me the way the streets got a lot of other my friends who didn't get the proper discipline. So I think what we have to understand here and really get to the point about is Adrian has to understand there's a certain level that's called discipline, and then there's another level that's called abuse.
Adrian Peterson called the mother of that child to say, I know you are going to be mad because what I have done here is not going to sit well with you. Your grandmother never had to do that. They felt comfortable with what they did to you.
Absolutely not.
He knew what he had done was going to make her uncomfortable. I think that he knew underneath it was abuse.
This is the thing, and this goes across all racial lines, ethnicities, religious backgrounds, people believe in disciplining their children. People with any type of Christian background, they really believe in disciplining their children. My mom did the best job she could do, raising 7 kids by herself. But there are thousands of things that I have learned since then that my mom was wrong.
Yes. Thank you.
It's the 21st century. My mom was wrong. She did the best she could, but she was wrong about some of that stuff she taught me. And I promise my kids I won't teach that mess to them. You can't be the kid to make them do what they want to do.
That's correct. Thank you.
Thousands of things we have learned since then. And now we're to the point, the only thing I'm proud about is the team that I played for. They did the right thing.
Yes.
Take them off the field. I don't care what, we in a climate right now, I don't care what it is. Take them off the dang on field. Because you know what, as a man, that's the only thing we really respect. We don't respect no women. We don't respect no kids. The only thing Roger and them do, take them off the field. Because they respect that.
Well, you know, everything you guys said is right. I think a parent, I just want to say one thing, has a right and an obligation to discipline their child if it's done in the right way. Now, my dad, this has nothing to do with black, white, pink, purple. This is,
there you go,
my dad whipped my butt. Did I deserve it? Yes. Did it make me? Keyshawn said it. He wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here today if that didn't happen in my life. That was a great thing. I didn't like it. I cried, but every time I got it. And I was the oldest of 4, and I was the only one in the family that got it. And he was setting an example. I became a better person for it. That's all I can say.
He ever beat you? He ever beat you like that?
Never where but the butt. Never anywhere on the butt but the butt.
And the biggest thing is, for me in this situation, and you said it, Coach, you can't tell somebody what to do with their children. Okay? It's okay to spank your child. I don't think you should. Okay, you spank him, that's fine. But if you make it, if you're an adult, you can't see that he's bleeding. Like when you're doing it, it takes you 15 plus times to figure that out.
This is torture. This is torture.
He shattered his knee in 6 months and came back and played. Do you think Adrian Peterson ain't more dangerous with a switch than anybody else? He shattered his knee in December and played in September.
Moving forward league-wise only as the Vikings.
All right. So that was pretty powerful. You know, and I think each one of those guys made some really, really good points. I think I want to start my little dissection of this. Like, I want to start it here first. And I forget which one of the guys said it. The thing is, we live in this society and like with media controlled everything. You know what I mean? Like everything is controlled by the media, and this whole notion of just because some group of people say the way you raise your kid or the way you discipline your kid is unacceptable, does that really make it unacceptable? Now, there's different levels to this whole thing, and I don't want nobody to get it twisted. Big Q is not sitting up here saying I condone, child abuse. Okay, that's not the message I want to get out. The message is this, though. As a father, I don't need anybody, because I have a daughter myself, and and I've been in a situation where I learned enough from what was going on in my background and in my upbringing and in my childhood that I was going to raise and discipline my kid differently than the way I was brought up, right? And for me, I never had to hit my kid. I never had to put my hands on my daughter ever. I do it by like Keyshawn said, or whichever one of them said it. I do it with my voice. I do it with my eyes. I shoot these laser beams at my daughter. She sit her ass down promptly. All the nonsense stops just like that, just by looking at it. But at the same time, this whole notion of people telling you like what you doing with your kid is wrong. I don't know. I mean, there's been millions upon millions of people who grew up getting their ass whooped. That's just the way it was. And now there's a whole lot of things that we can peel, like these layers we can peel off this whole thing. We can peel it off one by one. It was the generational thing that I think I heard Stephen A. Smith or somebody talking about it on First Take, about a generational thing and how back then things like that were acceptable because people didn't know better. They wasn't, his words were, educated, right? And this kind of thing. But here's the thing. I want to say this, and and I don't want to. And if anybody get offended by what I say, look, I'm gonna apologize in advance, but I'm gonna keep it 100% real. I've seen y'all's kids. I've been in the public and I've seen y'all's kids. And if I'm in public, if I'm in the Walgreens in the checkout line, and I'm watching this little 3-year-old slap his mama because she didn't want to buy him some bubble gum out of the checkout line, is that acceptable? Do he need his little ass whooped? I'm just asking. You know what I mean? I'm at the electronics store where I work, and I'm watching this woman negotiate with her 5-year-old son about her iPhone, because he wanted her iPhone because he wanted to play his game on it, and he didn't want her to buy him a new thing so he can play his own thing. He wanted her thing. She's negotiating with him. That's not the way you raise your kids, man. This is why we get kids running up in movie theaters, shooting up the place. This is why we got kids that's running up in school, shooting up the place. I know y'all saw the story. Came out a couple weeks ago about the little autistic kid who was doing the ice bucket challenge, right? And these other kids thought it was funny to put feces and urine and all kind of nasty crap in the bucket and dump it on this kid and put it on the internet for everybody to see. What are these kids' parents at? What kind of discipline are they getting? Do they need their ass whooped? You know what I mean? I see, that's the fine line we dealing with right here. Now, back to Adrian Peterson though, because there's other layers to this too. Back then, when I was a kid, or when my parents were kids, that's what happened. You got whooped. My mama sent me outside plenty of times to go get my Switch, and my mama sometimes, depending on what we did, she would tell us to get 3 of them, and she would braid them together and whoop our ass with them. Plenty of times that I've had welts all over my arms and legs, look like a little tiger or something, because guess we would get our ass whipped like that. And I think just like, Ray and Key and Tom said, I think if it wasn't for them kind of lessons that I learned from my mom, man, because I watched all my homies, all of them, go down one by one, either jail, get killed, something bad happening to them because they wasn't raised properly. Now, I ain't the one gonna sit up here and tell somebody how to raise their kids, because I don't want nobody telling me how to raise mine. But I'm just saying, I've seen y'all's kids. That's what I'm saying. I've seen y'all's kids in public, and the kids that are not getting disciplined, those are the ones that always end up in the news. That's the point I'm trying to make. Now, when we peel another layer back, we talk about Adrian Peterson and what he did. Is this really a story because we live in the media age where no matter what you do, it's gonna end up on the internet somewhere? Like people whip their kids on a daily basis. Somebody's kid getting their ass whooped right now as we speak. You know what I mean? But because it's not being reported on or tweeted or on YouTube, I mean, that's the part I understand. I think as a society, we are too wrapped up in other people's lives to try to live our own. So why are you sitting there talking about what Ray Rice did to his wife in that elevator, or what Adrian Peterson did to his son with that switch? Look at yourself in the mirror. What are you doing? Just because ain't nobody got a camera on you, does that make you better than Adrian Peterson? Does that make you better than Ray Rice? You know what I mean? That's the part I don't get. And when we love to kind of go on there and, the ones who like to live their life 140 characters at a time on Twitter, and they tweet about every single thing about other people. What about you? I think that's the thing that we all need to do. We need to look at ourselves before we start talking about these other people, man. They people too, and I think it's sad the way a lot of these dudes get vilified for doing normal, regular stuff. Now, listen, again, I don't want nobody to get it twisted. What Ray did and because I'm gonna get to how I feel about Adrian and his son here in a second. I'm gonna get to that part, but I want you guys to understand, how I get to the opinion that I have, right? Because I don't think that Ray should, get a slap on the wrist and walk around like everything is all good. No, I don't believe that. I don't think that's the way it should go. I do understand that you can't do stuff in the public eye and think you're going to get away with it, right? I understand that, and athletes get in trouble all the time. And, with this situation here, because we saw a tape of Ray Rice hitting that girl. I mean, look, we saw a minute and 20 seconds of a snapshot into his life. One little moment. We don't know what happened before and after that. We don't know what happened the day before that. We don't even know what happened a couple of days after that. All we know is that little moment in time right there. We making our assumptions and our judgments based on that little snapshot that we saw of Ray Rice and his wife. And just like, this little picture come out of Adrian Peterson's son with the whelps and stuff on his leg, we making these crazy assumptions just by seeing a picture. You know what I mean? Adrian Peterson, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know Adrian Peterson personally. I don't know, as speaking as a father myself, I know for me, I'm going to do every single thing I possibly can to ensure that my little girl grows up safe and in a world where she kind of knows what's going on. And I want to provide the absolute best, learning experience that I can for this kid. You know what I mean? And Vernie, I understand we do need to hold people accountable. And I'm gonna get to that part in a minute. I want to break it down slowly. I want people to completely understand the whole entire picture. Like I said, as a father, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to do everything I can. Some things may be unorthodox. Some things people may find, unacceptable. But it's what I feel like I have to do for my kid. Same way that my mom raising 5 kids by herself, she had to do things that she felt like she had to do. And if you love your kids that much, you were willing to do whatever, to make sure that they understand the severity of what's going on in the real world, And like I said previously, I've seen y'all's kids. I have. I've seen y'all's kids, and the main ones who out there talking about how wrong Adrian Peterson is for disciplining his kid the way he did. I have seen y'all's kids. I have. And it ain't pretty, Now, I can tell you this. Because of the way me and my brothers and sisters got our ass whipped back in the day, you best believe ain't nowhere in the world we're going to be nowhere talking back to our parents or, doing anything in church, like throwing stuff at each other. This weird, like, that stuff doesn't happen to kids who get disciplined properly. Now, let me get to this before I take my little social media break, because I'm going to say this, and then we're going to take a break, and then I'm going to talk about what's really going on with Adrian Peterson. I'm going to say this. I think when it comes to child discipline, it's just so fine of a line that it's kind of hard to make a now, look, if you were doing things like, I don't know, hanging the kid from a tree branch or taking a 2x4 with nails in it and smacking the kid across the back with it, or hitting them with a steel chair, or those things I think are abusive things. Or like some people grew up in households like this where, dad was an alcoholic and he just like slapping kids around for no reason. It wasn't that because you did something bad. It was just because he was an alcoholic and he was a bad parent and he was irresponsible and he just like slapping you around. That's abuse. You know what I mean? But when you discipline your kid and your heart is in the right place, wrong or not, like I said, sometimes it gets a little unorthodox. But kids get the message and they learn the lesson. Now, when I come back, I'm gonna talk to you about the Adrian Peterson part of this, because I wanted to talk to you about my life experiences first, so you guys will understand where I was coming from when I talk about Adrian Peterson. So I'm gonna take my little social media break, and then we're gonna be right back. Get social with TeamBoydTV. Like our Facebook page and join us every Sunday during the regular season for the TeamBoydTV Facebook halftime show. You can also follow us on Twitter at TeamBoydTV and at VernieB73. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at TeamBoydTV Turbo for all of our live shows, podcasts, among other things. Be sure to check out our Google Plus page for real-time status update and overall community discussion. TeamBoydTV is also on Instagram, Spreaker, and iTunes. Once again, thank you for watching TeamBoydTV. All right, so for those of you who just joining us, we are talking about the Adrian Peterson, quote-unquote, child abuse story. We're discussing reaction from the Sunday night, the Sunday countdown crew, Sunday night football countdown crew on ESPN last Sunday. All those guys had something really, really powerful to say regarding this situation. And, and I was just pretty much previously just giving an account of why those certain guys were saying certain things. Now, listen, and let's all be real for a second, okay? In this day and age that we live in, and it's one of the things that I saw on First Take yesterday. Yesterday. It was the generation thing makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, now what parents could get away with back then, it because of the way the world works now, you can't really do these things anymore. Now, some of the whippings that I got when I was a kid, man, I'm telling you, and I think Stephen A. Smith said it. If I was that same 8-year-old kid today, living with my mama today, and the things that my mom did to me and my brothers and sisters, she would be somewhere underneath the jail right now. Like, people would look at her like she was completely crazy. I mean, she would do things to us that, I'm telling you, in this day and age, she would be all over the news. They would be wanting to condemn this woman forever, But things are different now, We're in the information age. People learn things a lot quicker than they used to. News spreads a lot faster. Things are exposed to a bigger degree than what they used to, and it's different now because there's no privacy anymore. And if you think you got privacy and you think what you're doing behind closed doors in your own house, if you think that nobody is watching, then you're kind of sadly mistaken. What you think you're doing in secrecy, everybody going to eventually find out about it. So it's different now. You can't slap your kid with a pair of hair clippers and think you're gonna get away with it like my mom did back in the day. You can't whip your kid with an extension cord no more. Those days are over. You can't do that no more. And this is the thing that I think Adrian Peterson didn't quite understand. I think he was just looking at things the way he was raised. He was looking at the way he came up. And and like I said, for me, when my daughter came along, I decided, because of all the stuff that I went through as a kid, is there certain things in my life that I was just not going to expose or let my kid experience. I just wasn't going to have my kid go through the same things that I went through. And I was that type of parent. Now, some other people, they may feel like, and I mean, you've heard people say it, if my mom didn't do the things that she did, if my dad didn't, punish us the way he did. I mean, you heard, the Jacksons, praise their father for the beatings that he used to put on them, and they accredited this man for all their success. If it went for him doing what he did and putting them through what he put them through, they claim and they believe this in their hearts. If you ask anyone, you see any interview with any of the Jacksons, Michael, Marlon, Tito, Janet, all those guys, they will say it every single time that if it went for Joe Jackson beating the crap out of them on a daily basis, they wouldn't be who they were, and they really believe that. They feel like that in their heart. So the problem becomes then, if you really feel like that and you really believe that that's the right thing to do and that's the right way to raise your kid, of course, that's the way you're going to do it. That's the way you're going to raise your kid. So Adrian, being person who feel like his mom or dad or whoever it was who used to administer the discipline at his household were essentially doing the right thing, he felt like this was the right thing for him to do. Now, granted, he wasn't realizing that, hey, listen, I hit my kid with a switch. Now all of a sudden, I'm going to get persecuted for it. Now I got to go to court and they trying to tag me with child abuse. I'm pretty sure that wasn't even something that was even on his mind. You know what I mean? Now again, not condoning what he did, because again, there's another layer to this. If the question becomes, what is discipline and how far can you go before it becomes abuse? You know what I mean? You may have all the good intentions in the world. I want to teach this kid a lesson. You did something really, really bad. Give you a prime example. Take another life story from my childhood. I remember back in the day, me and my brothers and my crew, we thought it was the cool thing to do. We had this construction company type situation, down the street from where we live. And so sometimes we would go and climb under the fence, and we would go into the trucks and we would steal the fire extinguishers, right? And then we would take those fire extinguishers and run around the projects and spray people's cars and spray innocent people and all this kind of stuff. And it was all fun until we got in trouble. Now, in a situation like that, my mom was so furious and so upset, she beat the crap out of us for like 3 days straight. You know what I mean? Because she was that upset and that embarrassed because her kids are out there in the world doing stupid stuff like that. So so sometimes it can get to the point where, you know, you got to stay in control. You know what I mean? No matter what that kid did, you got to stay in control, because if you go too far, you find yourself in trouble. And that's the fine line that parents got to balance. You know, now for the parents who don't believe in spanking their kids, I say more power to you, because I don't spank mine. You know what I mean? I'm not above it though, you know, but luckily for me, talking and having communication and open dialogue with my kid has helped me tremendously in this, because being a parent is harder than a lot of people think. It is extremely difficult, and especially if you got more than one. Now, luckily for me, I only got one. So, you know, for me, as tough as it is, it's not as bad as it is for other people. Not as bad as it was for my mom, who was raising 5 by herself. You know what I mean? And for the people who don't have kids and who are commenting and making all these statements and stuff, you guys don't know what you're talking about, because y'all don't know what it's like. Y'all don't know what it's like to be responsible for another human being, you know, and ensure their well-being and their entry into the real world and where they can kind of survive on their own without you. You don't know what that's like. You know what I mean? So you don't know what the sacrifices that have to be made. You don't understand, you know, all the time and effort and energy that gets put into being a parent. You know, and for those who don't got kids, I'm saying back up a little bit. I'm just saying, because it's tough. It is a very hard thing. It is very, very difficult. You know, again, not condoning anything. It's just that I think as parents, everybody got their own parenting style, and everybody grew up in a different kind of household, and everybody, you know, got disciplined a different way, you know. And for those who want to continue the cycle and thinking that, you know, having to spank the kid or use a switch or a broomstick or a drop cord is the way to do it. I mean, listen, I can't tell you how to do it. I can tell you this much, though. You know, seeing what's going on right now, you might want to change your discipline style a little bit, because, you know, that stuff ain't flying in 2014 and going forward. You do some crazy stuff like that, you will be on the news. I'm just throwing it out there, you know. Now, to the last part of the thing where Chris Carter got all emotional, you know, talking about his mom and how she was wrong about some things. And, you know, and I agree, you know, because times are different. Times are different. You know, while I wouldn't change anything about what happened to me in the past, I wouldn't encourage parents to do that now. I wouldn't say, hey, listen, what you probably need to do, even like when I see these kids in the grocery store and I see these kids in the electronics store and I see these kids out in public doing crazy stuff, I wouldn't pull a parent to the side and say, listen, you probably need to put your foot in that kid's ass. I mean, I'm not going to say that's not my business. First and foremost, it ain't my business. You know what I mean? That's your kid. You know what I mean? I would just look at it and I would form my own opinions in my mind and I would keep it to myself and I would move on. You know what I mean? But I see, like I said, I've seen the kids. I've seen them, you know, and you know, and you guys with them crazy kids, who y'all letting these kids just run roughshod and be buck wild because you don't want to discipline them and stuff. Like, look, that's y'all. That's a problem that y'all gonna have to deal with later. You know what I mean? That ain't my issue. You know what I mean? All I can do is take care of mine. All I can do is handle mine. You know, and I think that's what a lot of people need to do. Instead of kind of, you know, automatically saying, oh, I saw a picture of this kid's welt, I'm going to go and tweet that Adrian Peterson is a monster. And, you know, I'm, again, not condoning what Adrian Peterson done, because I do believe his intentions probably weren't in the right place. It's just that he kind of crossed that boundary, not knowing where it was, not fully understanding the magnitude of what he was doing. And, you know, and so he going to have to face the punishment for that. He going to have to deal with that. Again, it's not my business. It ain't my place to say he deserves this many games or he deserves, you know, suspended indefinitely. That ain't my place to say. You know what I mean? I'm not his employer. You know what I'm saying? I'm not his baby mama. You know what I'm saying? I'm not his son who got the whipping. You know what I mean? I'm just an onlooker. You know what I mean? I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know? But what I can say is this. I hope you understand now that, you know, you can't do that nowadays. You just can't. I'm not saying that, you know, it's wrong if you do it. It's just saying that it's just not accepted by the rest of the world. And, you know, and believe, you know, as much as we like to sit here and say, I don't care what people say about me, you know, I don't care what the world thinks. You kind of got to, you know what I mean? Because, you know, the human voice is it's more powerful now than ever because of social media, because of news outlets going on 24 hours a day. You know, and these crazy people like TMZ scouring the world trying to find somebody doing something dirty. You got to be careful, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're a public figure like Adrian Peterson, you know, and you know, especially with the stuff that happened to him last year or the year before last with the other son, you know, it's just been a downward spiral for this guy. He going to have to walk a different path and going to have to be more cognizant of what's going on around him versus kind of, being locked off into this little tunnel vision that he got right now. And again, not condoning anything that he done. I'm just saying he need to learn a lesson from this. Just like with Ray Rice, I think Ray Rice need to learn a lesson from this. Not condoning what he did, because he know what he did was wrong. I'm pretty sure he understands that. But he need to learn something from this. So going forward, now, I can say these things about these people, now, and if this stuff comes up again, then it's completely moot, because apparently they didn't learn anything from it. And I'm hoping that Adrian Peterson learns that. Again, everybody live in glass houses nowadays, man. And, you can't really just kind of fly under the radar no more like you used to do. You can't do it. It is unacceptable. And everything is unacceptable now. It's not too much that you can do in the world these days without somebody scrutinizing or criticizing you about it. It's just not, even for me coming on here on this podcast, saying the things that I'm saying, I know, I understand. I know consciously I'm gonna feel a backlash from this. There's going to be some people who completely disagree with everything I said, and they're gonna think that I'm the worst person in the world, and they're gonna think that my way of thinking is completely flawed, and they're entitled to that. They're entitled to that. And that's just another example of why people like Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice and people who do stuff like this gotta understand that people, if you in the public, people will criticize you, they will scrutinize you, and it's gonna happen. So hopefully Adrian Peterson learns a lesson from this. Again, how the league handles this situation, like I said, I can't make no comment on it because of the fact that, first of all, this situation never came up in the NFL before, and secondly, I'm so conflicted about the whole situation, because you can't just say, the NFL can't just say, well, this was a parental issue between Adrian Peterson and his son and Adrian Peterson's family. We're going to stay away from that, because then the NFL will be under more scrutiny than what they already are currently under at this particular moment. But then again, they can't punish him too hard, because then you're going to have people say, hey, wait a minute, whoa, wait a minute. Now you're trying to dictate how people raise their kids and stuff, and there's a whole backlash from that whole situation. It's a very, very, very fine line, and I'm interested to see how the NFL handles this going forward, and then seeing what the legal process looks like and all this and that kind of thing. Listen, I want to thank everybody. There's a lot of people watching me today, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. And again, I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts out. Didn't want to sit up here and ramble on and stuff like that. I've been thinking about the situation, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna get my thoughts out. I'm gonna go ahead and put them in a podcast and just get them out there. So I don't have to keep on. People keep asking me. I don't have to keep on repeating myself. They can just see the video. I want to thank all you guys for checking me out today. And you guys can tune in later on tonight, man. We got TeamBoydTV Game Time with me and Vernon B. We're going to be breaking down the Week 2 action. We will probably talk about this situation again, because it'd be nice to see a woman's take on this whole situation. So, and again, that's why I love having her on that show, because she gives a different perspective on everything. So we probably will touch on this again tonight. We also going to cover all the Week 2 action, and then we'll give you guys our Week 3 picks. And that kind of thing. Until later tonight, man. Again, I want to thank you guys for checking out the Shield podcast, man, and I appreciate it. But I'll see you guys tonight. I'm your boy Big Q, and I'm out. Y'all take it easy. Peace.